Okay, Shalom Ubracha and Shavua Tov, and we are continuing with where we left off in Reb Noson's letters. Letter 31, which, like we said, is connected to the lesson Reb Noson was working on, learning Reb Nachman's lesson about the power of Simcha. One big point mentioned there is that Reb Nachman says the main the main cause for exile and the main sign of exile is sadness. That's when a person is sad, that's galut. And when a person has simcha, that's geula, that's redemption. And that's why a person has to work a lot. It's not easy, it's not easy, it's not easy. I know. And it's easier said than done, but at least we know this is the goal. A person works on being besimcha, he's in geula mode, geula mentality, and that's the way to receive Mashiach, that's the way to get things moving, is to get out of the atzvut. Now it's not easy because a person has so many things hitting them, but like Reb Noson writes in many letters, he writes, as bad as things seem to be, and a person feels he's getting hit from all corners in life, and he feels futility, and he feels like he's getting nowhere, still, afal pichen, nonetheless, mida tova meruba, which means the good is much greater always than the bad. And even if the bad seems to be much greater than the good, that's a false impression. That's false. Because the bad, just like these pro-Palestinians, they make a lot of noise, but they're only like 500 people. And then you have the people who are pro, for whatever, Jewish people, there's like 50,000 people. But they make a lot of noise, and the media focuses on the 500 people and makes it, whoa, my God, and then they get, that's how it is. Like they say, an empty pushka makes a lot of noise. The pushka that's empty makes a lot of noise. When it's full, you don't hear it. So that's how it is. So he says the bad tries to make itself known, and like Rabbi Nachman says, the evil puts itself up right in front of your eye, so it blocks everything. But it's so tiny. It's tiny, but it's just up close. So what you're gonna do is to push it back. The only way to push it back is if you take time to do what's called yeshuvadat. Yeshuvadat means to take time to just have clarity in your head, and when you have that clarity, you begin to see clearer. That the bad is like nothing. You can flick it. It's so tiny, but it makes so much noise, and it drives you crazy. And so the thing is to put things back into perspective, which is having a settled mind, and this brings simcha. That I know that the good has the upper hand, no matter what the bad tries to scare me. It's like Rashi says in the parsha coming up in the end of Dvarim. I think it's parsha Ki Tetzela Milchama, where Rashi is explaining to the Jewish, like Hashem is telling the Jewish people, when you are being attacked and fighting war against your enemies, don't be afraid of them. Don't be afraid that they make noise with their shields and of they're pounding their boots on the ground, and they're making their horses to make you like scared. That gets a lot of noise. So Hashem tells the Jewish people, Rashi is explaining it, of the call of the kalgasim, and they make noise with their shields, like I said, smashing their shields into each other, or sounding trumpets, all that stuff. Don't be afraid of the enemy. Just because he makes a lot of noise doesn't mean he's powerful. That's his trick to try to get you weak, is he makes a lot of noise. So yeah, people with distorted imagination, it's easy to get them to fall into that trick. But when a person has a calm, settled mind, he sees clear that it's only tiny. You're yet evil, you're small. You're tiny. You make a lot of noise, but you're really small. So Noson, in these letters, and in general in his letters, he tells his son again and again, don't be afraid. Don't be broken from the evil. It will pass. You just have to have patience. Just keep on doing the good. However you can do it, just keep on doing good. And the bad itself will fall and pass. And you'll see retroactively that it will be a waste of time to spend so much time stuck on it. Okay? So this is an amazing point. Reb Noson again is strengthening his son, and especially now that he's learning this lesson 24, which is one of the big highlights of being besimcha. Rabbi Nachman's one of the most important lessons on the power of joy to bring a person out of his personal exile, to let a person have breakthroughs in life, to have things moving with Hashem. It's a big lesson, okay? So we left off last week on a very delicate point, and it was hard for me to talk about it when you have especially new people who are not familiar with Rabbi Nachman's teachings. And this was one of the reasons why I wanted to read this letter, is to see how Reb Noson, in his life, and in his daily expression, how is he expressing ideas of this lesson? So I just wanted to go back a few lines that we did last week, not the whole paragraph, but the end part of the paragraph, which is like a big highlight. And what's happening at this point in the letter, again, is Reb Noson is strengthening his son that you have so much to be happy about. You have so much good to utilize, and because of that, you don't have really room to feel the pain of what you're going through and your suffering, because you can outweigh it with so much good that's happening in your 24-hour day. You have so much good you're doing, so why do you let the bad and the panic and everything to weigh you down? There's so much good happening at the same time. Why don't you just focus on the good? Okay, be strong. Everybody has to go through stuff in life. Okay, the question is, how do you balance it out, push it out? How do you deal with it? By focusing on the good. Because when you focus on the good, you can then deal with the bad. But if you're just so weighed down by the bad, how do you expect to deal with it? Okay? So Reb Noson's final points of strengthening his son are like as follows. Ubaruch Hashem, yesh lanu bameh lismoach. And thank God, blessed is Hashem, Reb Noson says, we have what to be happy about. We, he's saying we, in other words, followers of Rabbi Nachman of Breslov. We have what to be happy about. On what? Al shezachinu leda me'or kazeh. That we've had the merit to know such a light. He's referring to Rabbi Nachman's teachings, which bring such light and joy into a person's life. Like literally, it's like healing a person. Okay, a person who's depressed and down, he learns Chassidut, he learns Rabbi Nachman's teachings, he feels so uplifted. It's like a light. It's like there was a Breslover in the previous generation, Reb Nachman Borshtein, and towards the end of his life, he was very, very sick. He had a stroke, he had diabetes, he was very weak and everything. And once he was invited to speak in Yerushalayim, in Gan Soccer Park, which is a big park, and it's mixed with religious Jews and secular Jews. All types of people go there because it's humongous. And there was a group of like religious teenagers who invited him to come and speak about Rabbi Nachman's teachings. So he came, and he was weak and tired and schwitzing. It was summer, and people were making barbecues, and the smell of the non-kosher meat or kosher meat, I don't know, whatever, it was bothering him. He just began to speak about Rabbi Nachman's teachings, and he became on fire, and he forgot about all the pain and all the things that were hurting him. When he finished speaking, people asked him, "Where's that pain?" He said, "Oh, I forgot about it." So I'm saying it's an amazing fact, even by me, when a person has the zchut to speak about Rabbi Nachman's teachings, it literally brings a person back to life. It's unbelievable. It can't be explained to someone who hasn't tasted it, hasn't experienced it. So Reb Noson is telling him this to his son. We have, Baruch Hashem, what to be happy about, in that we merited to know of such a light. We're not opposed to it. We know such a light as this, Or HaOrot, the light of lights. And this is what I wanted to get to. This is like an amazing highlight from lesson 24. Or Tzach uMetzuchtzach, a light which is so crystal clear. Tzach means like pure and clean. And there's better terms in English, which I can't even find right now. Metzuchtzach, super duper clean. Such a light. In the Kabbalah, tzachtzachot is a level above the 10 sfirot. In other words, when Hashem created the world, there's Hashem, and then there's the creation. And the creation takes place with levels of what's called sfirot, energy levels being transferred. Then there's the in-between, between Hashem and the creation. There's like a fine line. This fine line is what the Kabbalah calls the Or Tzachtzachot, because like there's an intermission between Hashem and the act of creation. There's like a line, like everything. There's between the giver and the receiver. There's like a barrier in a sense. Okay, so this barrier between Hashem and then making the creation is what's called Or Tzachtzachot, the light, which is even above the 10 sfirot. It's the light, the beginning of the what's it called in English, the becoming concrete and spiritually materialized, a materialization of Hashem's light from the infinite light. These are high terms, high Kabbalistic terms. But just to tell you where we're holding here, by this term of tzachtzachot, it's like the beginning of the being made materialistic, but a spiritual level of the materialistic forming of the beginning of the creation. So this interval, this point which is in between, is called Or Tzachtzachot. And Reb Noson is calling Rabbi Nachman's light just to show you how far-reaching it is. And you should, when Rabbi Nachman gave this lesson over, lesson 24, it was a summer Shabbos day in the year 1803. And Rabbi Nachman, he was on fire. His face was burning red. He put a handkerchief over his face so no one could see. And he gave over this lesson 24, and he was speaking with such rah-rah, like hitla avut, no one can understand what he was saying. How do we have the lesson? Only after that Shabbat, Rabbi Nachman gave over to Reb Noson to copy verbatim the lesson. But Reb Noson said when he gave over the lesson, no one can understand. He was on such fire, and it makes sense because this lesson deals with the beginning point of creation. And Rabbi Nachman is tapping into it, and he's telling how every Jew, according to how much he works on being b'simcha and doing mitzvot b'simcha, he can reconnect to this light. You would think, what do I need that for? Let me just be a simple Jew. Why do I need such a big light? The answer is you need that big light because the darkness you face in your life forces you to look for a light higher than your level. Because the light at your level is not enough to fight the challenges. Proof is you're not passing the test. I'm failing. Every test, boom, 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 and I'm falling. What does that mean? I need a level of light which is higher. Where do I get that light? From the highest level. He says, Rabbi Nachman, when you aim high, aim for the highest. He said, for example, if he was very against people going to doctors. That's another class in itself. Rabbi Nachman was very opposed the haughtiness and the self-centeredness contained by most physicians, where they feel like they're almost like God. They know everything, and people put their trust into doctors as if they're God, which only pushes further the doctor to feel super duper haughty. And then it's fulfilled what it says in the Gemara. The Gemara says that the best doctors, they go to Gehenna. So the Maharsha explains, what does it mean the best doctors go to Gehenna? So he explains the doctors who think they're the best, they go to Gehenna. Why? Because doctors who think they're the best, they rely on their opinion and they don't ask for a second opinion. They know, I learned. I spent 10 years researching this and I got the best marks and everything. I know. Don't tell me what to do. And he's not interested in hearing, out of humility, a second opinion. And by doing so, he makes mistakes which are fatal for the patient, for the person who's sick, killing them. Okay? I have first-hand experience with my parents. Both parents passed away because of stupid mistakes of the doctors here in Israel, unfortunately. I'm not going to go into this right now. But the point I wanted to make is Rabbi Nachman said, if you already are going to a doctor, then go to the best. Don't settle for like a GP and a guy doesn't know between left and right and go for the best doctors. So he says, if you're aiming high, you go all the way. When you're low, you have to hold on. But when you go up, don't settle for status quo. Settle for the highest level. Why? Because when you know the reality of how you're holding, how sick you are spiritually, how a person feels his failures and his fragility, he's fragile, and he feels very weak and everything. So why settle for just status quo? Why say, okay, I'll just settle with my local rabbi and my local teachings. It's enough. No, it's not enough. You're fooling yourself. You know that you're not well spiritually. You know that you need major, super duper help. So you're going to aim high, aim for the highest. That's his rule. So when you go up, don't just settle for $20. Go for the million. Go for the million. Why? Because you know the severity of your situation. Someone who doesn't care, and it's okay, so let them settle for $20. Okay, no problem. But someone who's bothered by the setbacks and the ups and downs and the ping pong of life and just can't handle it and it's bothering them and they take it to heart. Most people, they don't care. Most people, like Winston Churchill once said. Winston Churchill, I'm quoting a person, what can you do? We're quoting here, he had a good quote. He said, everybody in life stumbles across the truth and the majority of people just get up and keep on walking. That was Winston Churchill. Okay, again, everyone stumbles across the truth. You stumble. But the majority of people just get up and keep on walking. What is this? In other words, they agree to live a life of fake, a life that's false. Just let me keep on, let me just be like everybody else, whatever. Who are you fooling? You're fooling yourself in the end. You're not fooling anybody else. You're going to din v'cheshbon on yourself, chas v'shalom, right? So Rabbi Nachman's rule, when you go up, you aim for the highest. Don't settle for anything less. Okay? So Reb Noson saying Rabbi Nachman's teachings are really aiming super high. When he gave this lesson over lesson 24, he was on fire because he tells you what simcha gets to. when you merit to do mitzvah b'simcha, it connects you to the highest levels of creation. You go to the beginning point of creation, even in the year 2024, even on a mundane day. If you succeed in tapping into deep simcha in your connection to Hashem, so what happens is, it's like I heard now they have this new type of drug in Mexico. I don't know if you heard about this. People, God forbid, who have like a cancer or an addiction or some sickness. So there's some illegal drug in Mexico. It's illegal or whatever. It's in America. It's illegal. That what it does, it gets your body to go back to before it got sick. It's something crazy. In other words, the body has symptoms due to something that happened maybe 3 years ago during Corona or something. They got a sickness. So what this medicine does, it gets the body to go backwards. It's like, on a computer, you can erase all data for the past 7 days, for the past week, for the past month, for the past year, and then it goes back to that point. So they have this type of medicine now that lets your body to tap into its subconscious and go back to how it's feeling 7, 8 years ago before it got sick. Something amazing. People have done it and they feel amazing. Okay? So far the people that I heard have done it. They're like, it brought them back to life after having skin diseases and all types of crazy things. So the medicine brings themselves. Again, I guess it works how much you take the medication. They make the doses to reach a certain point that you're going backwards in your life. This concept exists. Maybe Nachman talks about this concept, believe it or not, okay? So here too, what simcha can do when you do with the mitzvah b'simcha, it allows you to connect to the beginning of creation. In other words, before anything that happened to you, before you were created, and to give you a fresh start from a higher vantage point, and be able to deal with present life from this light of before the creation. So it's super bright and shining clarity in your life that you see clearly what to do. That's the infinite light. That's shining infinite light in my daily grind. That I know how to deal with the challenges. We all admit that the main reason why we're going through what we're going through is because we make the wrong decisions and the wrong interpretations of what we're going through in life. If now we're able to maintain a positive perspective throughout everything we're going through and not let what's happening to us throw us off course, we admit we would be in a much better place than we actually are. The reason why we are where we actually are, unfortunately, is because we let ourselves be influenced, abused in a way by the situation, getting us off course, eating the wrong things, getting nervous, thinking the wrong things, wasting time on internet or this or that, whatever. The person gets off, and what he could have done good to continue is now taken away because of being sidetracked. Whereas now, what simcha does, it's at this point it's theoretical. What's needed is bridges to make this something super duper practical. And he does say how to reach it by working on simchat mitzvah, where you're so happy in doing the mitzvah, you can reach this. It's possible. It's a reprogramming by doing the mitzvah b'simcha. Okay? So Reb Noson in this letter, he's just re-emphasizing to his son that he has so much to be happy about. And based on what you have to be happy about, what you're complaining about is nothing compared to the good that you have access to every day. The bad is still there. We're not going to erase it. But because you make it so big, he said earlier to his son, you're screaming too much. We saw that in the previous paragraphs, 2 paragraphs, the paragraph before this, that he said to his son, you're making the tsar too big. That's the biggest difficulty by people. They make something which is really small. Oh my God, the doctor said this. Oh my God. Oh, and he said this. Oh, for sure it's a divorce now, for sure. I'm just saying how a person takes something small and they explode it to 1,000,000 times bigger, so that afterwards something happens and like you're shocked. You say, what? I thought this for sure would happen. And like nothing happened. It was all in your dinyon, your imagination, okay? So this is why, because the person allows the worry and the panic of the situation causing sadness to overwhelm them. So that's a human, it's true, that's a human challenge. So what's needed is now to access simcha at the highest of levels. Doing any mitzvah, because what a mitzvah does, like Reb Noson says this, and the Vilna Gaon was known to say the exact same thing. A person buys tzitzit for like $20, let's say, okay? And he says the bracha on that tzitzit, and he puts on the tzitzit, and it allows him to connect to the infinite light. Is there any greater simcha in the world than that? That you pay $20 They say about the Vilna Gaon before he passed away, he said that. Reb Noson in his Likutey Halakhot brings the exact same example. Okay? A little mitzvah, it costs nothing, and by just saying the bracha le'tatef betzitzit al mitzvah tzitzit, whatever, it connects you to the highest light in the world. So Reb Noson says, is there any greater simcha than that? Obviously, it requires emunah. As a Jew, that's what we believe. We believe that the mitzvah, the word mitzvah, like we said last class, is to connect. It's connecting you. And that there's no greater simcha in the world than to connect to Hashem, and that's what the mitzvahs do. It's greater than going on vacation to Bahamas and Maui and having a vacation in the Swiss Alps. Better than just the physical enjoyment. The greatest simcha in the world is a mitzvah. Because, again, it requires emunah, of course. But what the simcha does, allows you to connect to the greatest force in the universe, which is Hashem. Okay? So let's go on. וברוך השם יש לנו במה לשמוח על שזכינו לדע מאור כזה אור האורות. Baruch Hashem, we have what to be happy about, that we merited to know of such a light. Reb Noson is saying about Rabbi Nachman's teachings. Or ha'orot, the light of lights. Because that's what happens when a person learns these teachings, you become filled with light. It's true. Or tzach u'metzuchtzach, like we said, or tzachtzachot emanating from this high level, way above the sphirot. And like now, this is the point I wanted to get to, like I said last week. Reb Noson is now quoting the Zohar that Rabbi Nachman quotes in lesson 24 about this light, the infinite light, which is beyond this level of the tzachtzachot. The la yadiah, this light which is not known, because even if you taste it, it's incomprehensible, it's above your level. Vela it yadan doesn't make itself known because it's a flash. Vela it man de kaima ben, there's no one who can be fixed in this light. This experience of this light is in and out. No one's fixed in it. It comes to wake you up and then bye-bye, it takes off. Why? What did I, if it's not to stay, so what did I benefit? You did benefit. What? That you're exposed to a higher existence of light to show you what's out there, so you don't be stupid and get carried away with the lower things, the mundanity of the world that you're living in, and to be convinced that this is the real good, this is the true good. You can bypass that by having a glimpse of a higher light. And what's amazing again is here Reb Noson is interpreting lesson 24. He's saying this light is applying to Rabbi Nachman's teachings, which is crazy, because it's true. People who start learning Rabbi Nachman's teachings, sincerely and honesty, they're filled with a big light. Okay, and it's a big light. It's like a person on a high, in a sense, like a drug high. Oh my God, wow. Once a person makes a commitment, I want to follow this, so then this light is taken away. Now you have to work for it. So the people who are in it, they're struggling because this is their test. They've tasted the light, that's what brought them in, but then the light is taken away. Why? To get them to work hard now to earn that light again. It'll come again, but now you have to work for it. Before you were given it on a silver platter to experience this light, and that was needed because if it's not given to you on a silver platter, you're never going to experience it, you're never going to appreciate it. So it's given to you as a gift on a silver platter. But once you make a commitment, I want this. I'm getting up on my feet. I'm starting again. It's to take away the light. You see, where's that light? That's why I came in the first place, was light. No. You have to work for it. You have to earn it now. How do you earn it? By doing now. You have the kelim, you're taught the utensils, hitbodedut, hitchaskut, all the eitzah Rabbi Nachman gives, like he mentioned earlier. And he's going to mention a few coming up. Use them now. Use them through thick and thin. Show your commitment. That way, heaven will see that you're serious and you're not a joker. Then they'll give you to taste that light again. B'ezrat Hashem. It's a big thing in life. So again, he's going back, and let's go over this. This light which is not known and doesn't make itself known, and there's no one who can be fixed in it because it's just a flash. Ashrei hachoseh betzilo. Fortunate, Reb Noson said, is the person who takes refuge in Rabbi Nachman's tzel, his shade, because you don't have what to be embarrassed about, and you're never alone. You're not alone. Before you could have been alone, but now you have a tzaddik with you whose advice is always available in every scenario to give you a piece of advice, what to do in the present situation, to be able to be positive and hold on and to strengthen yourself. So now Reb Noson goes on. After all this said, Ashrei haba al tzion hakadosh shelo. It's even a bigger thing. Fortunate is the person who has the merit to come on Rabbi Nachman's grave. We told this amazing story last week of Rabbi Pinchas Yoshua, if you remember. Fortunate is the person who comes to Rabbi Nachman's holy gravesite. It's a big thing. There was a breslov from in the early 1900s, before World War One, of Avram Ber Nachman. He lived in Uman. And in Uman also you had secular Jews. You had big atheists living in Uman. One atheist, he came to Rabbi Nachman and he said, I don't understand your Rabbi Nachman. He says, anybody who comes to his grave, gives a coin to the in charity in his memory, says the Tikkun HaKlali, he promised to pull him out of Gehenna. Wait a sec. That means me, I don't believe, I don't do Shabbat, I don't do Yom Kippur. I'll just go to the kever, give a coin, and do say the Tikkun HaKlali, he'll pull me out. So Rabbi Nachman said to him, where do you live? He said, I live in Uman. And how many years have you been living here? He said, I'm 40 years already. Have you ever been to his kever yet? He said, no. He said, there's your answer, you'll never make it. Even if you try, you won't make it. Because of your attitude, you're not looking to change, you're not going to make it. Mihen love hen. There's a rule in the Torah. From the negative, I can learn the positive, and from the positive, I can learn the negative. Meaning, in this case, he said in this story that you are not going to make it because of your attitude, which shows whoever does make it, it shows that there is a big merit in that. Even a lowlife who makes it to Rabbi Nachman's kever and he has the wrong intentions, but he made it. He got the invitation. It's a world of a difference. Whenever I come back from Uman to work by Rav Chaim Kramer, he stands up. For me, he can be my father. He stands up. He said, you came back from Uman? And he stands up. And he kisses my hand even. Unbelievable. Because it is a big thing, someone who has the merit to get to Rabbi Nachman's kever. Now it's much easier than 100 years ago, especially that the borders were closed and it was dangerous. Now it's just the tickets are expensive and you have to schlep because of the so-called war in the Ukraine. You have to schlep from or Moldova or Hungary or Romania or Poland, whatever, to get in. But in the end, you make it there, and it's a big merit to be there. So Reb Noson is saying this thing. You know, again, a person should aim to go there at least once in his lifetime. Have you been there yet? One day, hopefully. Because when you hear how big it is, it's really it's a big investment. It's a worthwhile investment. Ashrei haba al tzion hakadosh shelo. Fortunate is the person who comes to Rabbi Nachman's holy gravesite, umekayem dvarav, and fulfills his words that he requested. Lomar asara kapitlich Tehillim. It's in Yiddish, this word. To say the 10 chapters of Tehillim known as the Tikkun HaKlali by his grave. Vehu, and Reb Noson doesn't mention the other two things about giving a coin to charity and taking it upon yourself not to return to folly. As if to say this is the main thing. The main thing is to say the 10 chapters of Tehillim there, okay? To fulfill his words, to say the 10, because Rabbi Nachman, we said this last week, he swore with 2 witnesses that anybody who comes to his grave and says these 10 chapters known as the Tikkun HaKlali by his grave, he swears to pull that person out of Gehenna no matter how bad his sins may be. Okay? Vehu bevadai, that's what Reb Noson is saying now. Vehu bevadai, and he, Rabbi Nachman, will definitely Ya'aseh shelo, do his part, L'kayem haftachato, to fulfill his promise. This explains also why there's so much opposition especially from people of going to Uman, from people from different backgrounds, different Hasidic communities, or Litvish communities, or modern Orthodox, or whatever. What are you doing? What do you need this? You know, what are you going to gain from it? It's a schlep. It's so much obstacles to going from even people because of this greatness of this feat. It's something very, very big to do this. So it only makes sense that there has to be a challenge, whether it's from people, from family, from spouses. Reb Noson once said, wives have always been opposed. I mean, you're an exception, but wives have always been opposed of their husbands going away, leaving them alone on Rosh Hashanah. And Reb Noson says this is one of Hashem's miracles, that Yom Kippur is right after Rosh Hashanah. That way they have to forgive their husbands for leaving them alone, okay? So, but the point is that it doesn't come easy. So Reb Noson is strengthening his son, who is zoche every year to have been by his kever on Rosh Hashanah, and to be by his kever and made it to say the Tikkun HaKlali, saying, fortunate is the person such as you, my son Rav Yitzchak, that you've made it to Rabbi Nachman's kever. Okay? And now he goes on, Rav Noson, and he says something amazing. And it's such There's such an amazing point that comes out of what he says here. Re'eh b'ni chavivi, see my son, my beloved son. Nifleot temim de'im, the wonders of the God who's complete in total knowledge. In other words, the wonders of the one who's considered the absolute level of knowledge, Hashem. Shenatan zikaron b'shichecha belev adam, because Hashem put in mankind the power of memory and the power for forgetfulness in the heart of man. So not in the mind of man, in the heart of man, that a person could be connected to the greatest things and he forgets about it. Person, he's so stuck in whatever, he forgets about the unbelievable good that he's spoiled with, that he has. Again, see my beloved son, the wonders of Hashem, how he planted memory and forgetfulness in the heart of mankind, that you forget even the most basic things that you're doing, and you should be appreciative every second for them, but you forget about them. You forget, you take it for advantage that you got up in the morning, that you washed your hand, that you said Modiani, that you said HaEzer, Elokai Neshama, that you said Berkot Shachar, that you daven Shachar, you did Kriyat Shema, you gave tzedakah, you did some Torah study, you said a bracha here, you said a bracha there, you did a mitzvah of Kibud Orim, you did a mitzvah taking care of your children, you did this, that, you have tons of mitzvot, and you forget to take advantage of them, that you forget to value them. You take advantage of forgetting about them. It's ridiculous. So look what he says. Because behold, how many is several times that I strengthened you in my words. The wording here is very tricky because in English they translate it differently than I understood. In the English translation, they translate the following. How many times that I strengthened you and reminded you to be happy about saying the 10 chapters of the Tikkun HaKlali. But I understood it like this. Ki alo ze kama pa'amim shechizkaticha b'dvarai velo hizkartich, and I didn't remember to mention to you to be happy about saying the 10 chapters of Tehillim. I think the way that I'm interpreting it is much easier, it's clearer. The way they translated the book didn't make sense because it doesn't fit into the context. Because he wants to talk about how sometimes you have something which you're doing and it's so basic and you forget to be happy about it. And he said, Tikkun HaKlali in Breslov circles, Breslov communities, the custom is to say it every day. To go back, to explain, Rabbi Nachman instituted the 10 chapters of Tehillim, called the Tikkun HaKlali, to be said specifically on a day that a man has, God forbid, what's called an unintentional emission of wasted seed in vain, but unintentional. It's called the Mikra Laila. And he said, on the same day, make sure you say the Tikkun HaKlali. Why? Because the Zohar, and even the Shulchan Aruch, and the Gemara talk about the immense damage of wasted seed, even unintentional. Because unintentional comes from the subconscious of the mind. You should know, it says, for example, in the laws of Yom Kippur, if a man on the night of Yom Kippur has an unintentional emission, it's one of two things. Or he's going to die that year, or if he makes it through the year, he is for sure guaranteed a portion in the world to come. It's a halacha in the Shulchan Aruch. Okay, we're not making huji-buji, no Kabbalah. It's in the Shulchan Aruch that it says that a man who has an emission on the night of Yom Kippur, so if he passes that year, he has for sure a portion of the world to come. But he has to worry the whole year that he's probably going to die that year also. So it's one of two. It's scary, yeah? You look scared. I'm sorry. Okay? So it's serious. The Zohar explains, the Kabbalah explains in detail that when seed is wasted in vain, and we're talking about, I have to go into this because it's important to know about these points. Wasted because of sexual thoughts. In other words, there could be a man who woke up in the morning and he was sleeping in a bad position, and he had wasted seed, but it was not connected to any immoral thoughts. So Ibn Nachman says it's like a baby who's making in the diaper. That's nothing. It's when a person has bad thoughts and that causes him to have an unintentional emission, that's bad. Why? Because there's an evil force. Her name, we don't say her name, it's Lilith. In Hebrew, Lamed Yud Tav. She's considered the mate of the male force of the evil side. The male force, we don't say his name either. His name is Samael. I call him as a joke Uncle Sam. Okay? Samech Mem Aleph Lamed. We don't say his name. And he has a spouse. And what she does is she finds customers, to steal from them in order to give nourishment to the evil side. What is this nourishment? Holy sparks of Jewish souls, which are found where? In the seed of man. So what she does is she enters the man's dreams and plays games while he's dreaming to get him, God forbid, to think of immoral thoughts, to get him aroused. And this causes, he was sleeping, it's not his fault. So it's considered unintentional, but yet he's held accountable for it because he allowed for bad thoughts to come into his head, which she afterwards uses to attack him. Because the Gemara says that the Yetzirah can only attack a person when he's seen. So a person is seen in his lifetime immoral, illicit pictures. So what this Lamed Yud should do, should go in the person's subconscious, take from his past images and memories to wake him up and arouse him, God forbid, in order to steal the energy of these holy sparks of the. Okay. So now, Rabbi Nachman says you have up to nightfall to fix this. Why? These souls, they're souls. Every sperm is a soul. So there's millions of souls here we're talking about. When they're taken by the evil side, so they're innocent. They're screaming, they're Jewish souls, and they're crying out, help, help, extract me, help, help. They don't want to be there. She's taken them to her domain of evil in order to nourish off of them, and then to turn them into evil forces. The Zohar says that the majority of demons and evil forces in the world that cause damage are made from wasted seed. Can you believe that? The majority of evil, when a person breaks their leg, or there's an accident, or this happens, things happening, it's obviously the will of Hashem, but the emissaries doing the bad work, the dirty job, what's the word expression? The dirty job, are these evil demons created from wasted seed. Okay? Up to nightfall, they are still innocent. So when a person says, Reb Noson says, saying these Tikkun HaKlali, first of all, the name, why Tehillim? Tehillim, Tav, He, Lamed, Yud, Mem, is the same gematria as her name, Lamed, Yud, Tav, plus 5 letters, plus number 5 for the 5 letters. Tehillim, 5 letters. So it's 485 plus 5, I think it's 509 yet. I might maybe off 5 numbers. That's the gematria of her name. So Reb Nachman discovered that saying Tehillim is the power to counteract her. And specifically 10 chapters, 5 and 5, they're broken into 2 categories of Chesed and Gvura. And specifically these 10 that he revealed, they have the power to smash into her, this force, open up, and extract all the holy sparks back to the side of holiness, to the extent that he said, once you say the Tikkun HaKlali on the same day, a man, he has nothing to be afraid about. It's cleaned. He's so confident, Rabbi Nachman, in his promise. He says, you have nothing to worry about. It's fixed. Okay? But if now nightfall passes, what happens at nightfall is that this darkness descends even in the domain of Lamed Yud Tav, and this darkness takes away all hope and light from the holiness of the sparks of these souls of the wasted seed, that they no longer want to be extracted. They want to stay there. They want to be evil demons. They want to. Why? It's a kef in Hebrew. It's great to be a demon. Why? You have superpowers. You can cause damage and this and that, and it's unstoppable. You can do what you want. So that's what he says on the same day to say it. Okay. So this is Rabbi Nachman's initial Tikkun HaKlali that he initiated. In Breslover circles, they have the custom of saying it every day. Even if a man never has an emission, but it's such a protective force, if it has that strength to go and smash into the evil and take out the holy sparks. So it's like a multivitamin. Sometimes you need a multivitamin, and it's super power packed, and it prevents you from falling into being sick. You take it as preventative medicine. So they say in Breslover Hasidim, they say they take Tikkun HaKlali every day as preventative medicine. I shouldn't fall to that sin, anything less than that. Okay. So that's why it's said every day. So Reb Noson, again, the English translation, I think there's a mistake. Because it doesn't make sense, doesn't fit into the flow of what Reb Noson is saying. Reb Noson wants to say Look at the wonders of Hashem. Hashem put in human beings to remember and to forget. Even something which is you're doing every day, and I can forget to remind you about it. Okay? Because behold, Reb Noson saying about himself, how many times my son, Reb Noson was writing a letter to his son at least once a week, sometimes even twice a week, okay? It's like email today and telephone, but back then, once a week is already a lot. He said, how many times have I strengthened you with my words? Velo izkartich, and I didn't mention to you, I didn't remind you, to be happy about the recitation of the 10 chapters called the Tikkun HaKlali. כי הכל, and he explains, כי הכל עשה יפה בעיתו, שיוכל כוח השכחה להשכיח את האדם דבר הרגיל בו. That's the point. Because look, Hashem made everything right in its proper time, that He allows the strength of forgetfulness to make a man forget something that he's even accustomed to doing. Because again, breslovers, even Rav, they say about Reb Noson, he initiated this custom of saying Tikkun HaKlali every day. By breslovers, Aleph Bet. You ask a breslover, what's your daily schedule? One of the things they say for sure, to go to the mikveh every day, men go to the mikveh every day, they do it every day, they learn halakha every day, and they say Tikkun HaKlali every day. It's one of the few things. There's a few more things, okay? But this is one of the things that the day can't finish without these things. Right? The rest of the world, they have their daf yomi. Also, breslovers have a daf yomi. No, that's not for sure. It's not a problem. But what is priority post, even on Shabbat, even on Yom Kippur, even on Tisha B'Av, is to say the Tikkun HaKlali every day. Period. Okay, that's what he's saying. Davar Gilbo, because breslovers, they say it every day. So he said again, how the power of forgetfulness, of memory and forgetfulness, is so powerful to make a person forget something that they're used to doing. Reb Noson's like as if he's pointing a finger at himself. I forgot to remind you to be happy that you're saying Tikkun HaKlali every day. You're doing it every day, and it's so big. It's humongous saying the Tikkun HaKlali, okay? Someone's asked a question, ladies too? Of course ladies too. Of course it helps for ladies. If it helps for men, I'm asking the question here, all the more so it helps for ladies, okay? For sure, if it can help for the man who's held accountable for wasted seed. A woman doesn't have the prohibition of wasted seed. She has prohibition of causing men to have wasted seed, God forbid. That's a problem. Oy vavoy. But to fix that, and anything less than that, there's Tikkun HaKlali, even for women, for sure. That's why it's called Tikkun HaKlali. They call it the general, Rabbi Nachman called it the general remedy. What do you mean general? Because it can fix something as severe as this. So all the more so, it's like something that can only fix the severe and nothing less. It can fix from A to Z, including Z, the harshest, but also from A to Z. So going back, he's saying, I forgot to remind you something that you used to saying and to give you strength to be happy about it. And he says, everything is for the good that I forgot to remind you about this, because when it does come along to remind you, it comes with such a big bang, because for the many times that I didn't remind you about it, so it accumulates. And now that I finally remind you about it, and you're doing it every day, he's saying you have to be happy about it. The idea is that sometimes you're doing something you're every day, and you don't realize what you're doing. A person puts on tefillin, a man puts on tefillin every day, and he just does it in routine. He doesn't appreciate what he's doing. And finally, when he's reminded, you put on tefillin every day. You're right. He sees all of a sudden the Chabad guys putting on tefillin on these guys. Say, wow, that's amazing. And then I put it on tefillin every day. I'm more happy about him tefillin. How about my tefillin? I should appreciate my tefillin also, okay? It comes with a big bang when you finally remember to appreciate what you have under your nose and you don't even think about it. So that's what he's saying, Reb Noson, about call it tova gdola that I didn't remind you until now. And he's making a big deal of this, Reb Noson, of remembering and not remembering, seeing things which are in front of your eyes. It happens a lot. There's something right in front of you and you totally forget about it. And it's right in front of you. You're doing it and it's part of your life and you don't appreciate it. It's right in front of you. All because of who? Hashem's power to make a person remember and forget. And for letovah. So that when you do remember and think about it, I appreciate it much, much more because it's accumulated now. Ki me'od amku machshevotav. Reb Noson's going on. Because Hashem's thoughts are so deep in these matters, how He deals with human beings, in their forgetfulness and in their remembering things. Ach, Reb Noson like really is going into a lesson here. This requires a lot of review to say this. Ach natan lanu habechira, yet Hashem, nonetheless Hashem has given to us free choice, free will. ועלינו להזכיר עצמנו בכל פעם את כל הטוב אשר גמר עמנו בעניין הנורא והנשגב הזה. And it's upon us, it's incumbent upon us to remind ourselves every time about all the good in which Hashem has bestowed upon us in this wondrous and awesome way, HaEzer, be'inyan, in this thing. I guess he's talking about the Tikkun HaKlali and all the things he mentioned above. And he now explains, שזכינו להסתופף בצל קדוש ונורא ונשגב כזה. That we merited to again take refuge, to listofef, to take shade in this holy shade and wondrous and awesome of Rabbi Nachman. He's going over this point again and again and again because you have to understand Reb Noson was plugged in. Reb Noson was connected to the Rebbe, Rabbi Nachman, full force. He said, Rabbi Nachman, I'm going to open your mind to my teachings. But not because you deserve it, but because I want to give it to you as a gift. I want your mind to be opened. And we see Reb Noson's mind was totally open in the book that he wrote called Likutey Halakhot. Likutey Halakhot is an 8-volume set, which is over 3,000 pages, based on Rabbi Nachman's book, the Likutey Moharan. In these 8 volumes, he explains how to be a Jew based on all the lessons of Rabbi Nachman and the Likutey Moharan. And when you start learning this book, it takes you to a different dimension. That's for sure. Anyone will tell you that when you learn Likutey Halakhot, it takes you to a different planet. When you learn it and you go with it, not like it's difficult to understand, but you're going with the flow, you understand what he's saying, and you're into it, it just takes you to a different world. And you see how Reb Noson had this access to this big light. And that's why he's speaking on such high terms about Rabbi Nachman's teachings, because he's plugged in, he knows what's there, and he's hoping people like his son will appreciate that and be more pushed to enter in this world, not to be afraid, but to enter the world of Rabbi Nachman's teachings and experience this unbelievable light, which produces such happiness. I think we'll stop here because it's so much. I'm already schwitzing from the intensity of this. We'll continue. Next week there's no class because Baruch Hashem we're making a chasana for my daughter, Bezat Hashem. So hopefully we'll continue, hopefully the Sunday after that, Bezat Hashem. Thank you everybody for joining, and have a great week, Bezat Hashem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hashem.